has heard of the term a job for life? Yeah, me certainly too. But it's not just a term, is it? Actually, it used to be a way of life. That's what people did. They used to get a job for life. Both my grandfathers did it. They got a job in, they've worked for the coal board, and one was a miner, one was an electrical engineer, and that's what they did for life. And they didn't question it. And at 18, I started my training as a nurse, and that's what I thought I was going to be doing. I did not think I was going to be doing this. Yeah, I started as a nurse and then got into nurse management, and my career changed. And about 7 years ago, I was managing a large team, a fabulous team that I'd actually been able to recruit, that were wonderful. It was a real challenging time. And we had fun, we did lots of great stuff together, and I didn't have any idea of leaving. And what was really great was that I managed a lot of those people remotely. So the organisation that I worked for said, why don't you do some coach training? You're working with them remotely, you're developing them, do some coach training. So that's obviously quite clear where that journey went, but that's not the story this evening. So what changed at that time, kind of 7 years ago? Well, it was a national organisation, and we'd had a new chief executive in. And as what often happens is they start to gradually restructure. And we appreciated it may happen to us, and it did. But it was done in such an awful way. We had a message on a Friday evening, last thing of the day. We had a teleconference we had to attend on the Monday, and there were about 30 of us in our team. We weren't really given any information, nobody to ask. We were worried, but did we know? Should we really be worried? What were we going to do about it? And then we learnt on the Monday that actually, yes, the whole department was being, it was no longer commercially viable. We were no longer commercially viable. So we could either apply for new roles or we could take redundancy. And that's a really unpleasant word, isn't it? Redundant, kind of useless, no longer needed, not wanted. And it was actually devastating, real bone deep, gut-wrenchingly devastating. Not the kind of you've had the rug pulled out from under your feet, which a lot of people thought was quite funny to say at the time, but real sick feeling of dread. You know, what was I going to do? I wasn't going to have a job in 3 months. How was I going to go home and tell my family I wasn't going to have a job? And that's an awful thing, isn't it? When you know you've received bad news, you're trying to take it in yourself, and you've got to tell your loved ones, and you know the impact it's going to have on them. And I think probably for about 3 weeks, I was in a little bit of a daze. And everywhere I looked around me, people had jobs. Every single person had a job, except me. It was a really anxious time, and I was quite overwhelmed by the anxiety of the time. So I had quite a large team. I focused on the team, made sure they had jobs to apply for. There were lots of jobs that they could apply for. And I considered my options. I looked at the options that were available for me, and in my heart, I didn't want them. They weren't challenging, they were boring, and I knew that I would die inside. So I turned my attention to coaching and did my certification and set up as a coach. And what was actually the worst thing to have happened, and I felt that real pivotal moment of the worst thing turned out to be the best thing. And that's what I do now. I work with women who maybe haven't had the push point of redundancy to make a change, but they know they want to make a change, but they're scared of what they're actually going to do. And that's often when you look back and you think of something that was so awful that you got through, you look at it and you think, actually in there was the greatest gift.